I hear lies growing all around me. They surround me, but it comes as no surprise. My head is pounding, the siren sounding. History dies. It's the Lyrical Wax. The Lyrical Wax. Those were the lyrics of Tim Russ, singer of the punk band Fake News, one of South East Queensland's most prominent punk rock bands going around at the moment. My name's PurpleZain, singer-songwriter myself, and also a bit of a muso producer and all-round try and do entertainment sort of guy. But outside of this sort of business, I actually work as a psychologist for Chill Psychology based out of Tweed Heads on the Gold Coast. This is the Lyrical Wax podcast where I combine my love of lyrics and my little bit of know-how from all things psychology and try and blend it into one, interview the singer-songwriters and get a gist of where their head's at, what the song's about and what was going on for them at the time of writing the song. So here we go. The Lyrical Wax podcast, Fake News edition. Let's go. All right, Tim, how's it going? Good to have you on board the Lyrical Wax podcast.
Yeah, good, Zane. Thanks heaps for having me. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. We're recording this at the end of March. You've released a new single. We'll get into that a little bit better. We'll get into that a little bit later. But how this podcast works, as you know, we have a bit of a chat about your lyrics and have a little bit of a deep dive into them and get a gist of where you're coming from. But it's really valuable at the start of this to just have a bit of a chat about you, Tim, and get a little bit of a gist of your history. It can often help put things into context a little bit. So maybe start right from the beginning. You don't have to tell us the exact location you were born, but whereabouts did you grow up and sort of go to school and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Beaudesert, but when I was a pretty young fella, I was about 3 years old, I moved to the sunny coast. So as far as most of my life, I've been on the sunny coast. So I'm basically a sunny coast born and bred, as you'd say. But I love it here, and I don't think I'll be leaving in a hurry, that's for sure.
I bet. Do you thank your parents every day that you don't live in Beaudesert anymore? That would probably be sorry to all people from Beaudesert listening.
Yeah. There's not much reason to go back there these days.
And so just like mum and dad, brothers, sisters, the dog and the picket fence and everything, what was it sort of like there growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, mum and dad did it pretty tough. They were always sort of going through different business opportunities. Dad tried lots of different things. He was originally a mechanic, then he got into wrought iron, like metal, did a lot of that. He did truck driving. He tried all sorts of things, but he actually ended up coming and working with me as a carpenter, and we did that for a little while, which was pretty good for a little while. But working with family, it is tough. But we grew up on the Sunshine Coast in Kawana Waters, which was a nice sort of beachy town, and then mum and dad bought acreage out sort of Tanawa near the Edamoga pub, it was called at the time. It's called the Banana Bender now. We ended up growing up on acreage, riding motorbikes, just doing stupid shit, and that's why living out there, being in a band was just a dream. We had a huge big shed and we used to jam every day and no neighbours to complain, so it was great.
Yeah, well, that was sort of what nice segue to the next question I was going to ask, because it's always interesting too to hear a little bit about, what people got into music and so on. And a lot of people get into music because of music, but in the context of this podcast, what sort of got you into the singing and the songwriting side of things as well?
My musical direction, it's a long story, but in a short sense, I was a bass player originally. I would have been about 13 years old, and my next door neighbour at the time, she was about 5 years older than me, and I used to sit in my room playing heaps of punk tunes like Bad Religion, Strung Out, all different stuff like that. And one day she knocked at the door and she just hands me a pile of CDs and she goes, "Give these a go. I've heard what you're playing. I know you'll love them." And like, honestly, some of the best CDs that I still listen to today, like this, it's the music that changed us all. Anyone that's in the punk scene, it was all the good stuff, all the MXPX, Unwritten Law, just everything that's good in the punk world you could think of. She just handed me in a pile, and it changed my life forever. And then I actually got a Sanity voucher at the time when Sanity was still around, whether it still is or not. I went down to Sanity. And nah, that's it, yeah. My sister goes to me, she got in my ear and she was hanging out with these guys because she's older than me. She was hanging out with these punk guys at the time, and she's like, "Oh, all the guys are talking about this MXPX band." So I was like, whatever. I bought Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo by MXPX, took it home, and I just remember the moment. I just felt butterflies over my body, and I was just like, this is what I want to do. This is sick. So from there, I literally just hammered down, just wanted to be in a band and sound like them, and stuck to it. And then, yeah, over the period of years after that, I just kept at it, dropped the bass, picked up guitar, started another band. We were called Not to Regret. It was just a 3-piece band. We had Kyle on bass, Nick on drums, and I played the guitar. And we were looking for a singer at the time, and it was very difficult to find. So I just started writing songs. I was like, you can't just write music. We need something. So I was like, we'll write some lyrics and then go from there. And I mean, that's just kind of where it stayed. I was in that band for 11 years. That was the band that I finished up in before I started Fake News. So we had a really good run, did some awesome things. And like I said, with Mum and Dad having the shed, me and those boys, we used to, like, we'd finish work, we'd meet at my house, we'd jam every day of the week, 7 days a week. And then weekends, we'd just throw a party and play to our friends. So it was probably the best lifestyle ever. We absolutely loved it, and it made us grow as musicians along the way.
Yeah, right. Well, a couple of things there that I definitely picked up on. So, you sort of grew up in coastal sunny coast. I grew up in, Tweed Heads, Coolangatta. So I can definitely relate to that sort of young teenage, the surf skate scene. I mean, you were sort of probably got inland a little bit more, probably more into the motorbikes and stuff. But me and my younger brother, Sid, who were in a teenage band as well, garage band, we used to call all that music mid-school. So you got sort of the old school, the Sex Pistols and the Clash and stuff. You had the more sort of new school stuff, and I suppose you could call, well, we used to call MXPX and so on. But mid school was the stuff that we used to really love. Sort of like NoFX Ribbed era.
Yeah.
10-foot pole, early propaganda, and Bad Religion, Strange in the Fiction.
Yeah.
So that to us, that's what, like, it never really caught on. We thought, everyone's going to call this, it's going to be all over the news in America. Everyone's going to call it mid-school. It never did. But I still, when me and Sid talk, we still say mid-school's our era, So
that's sick, mid-school. I like it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're, I'm not here to fucking piss in your pocket, but you are a very good singer. Did you get lessons and stuff, or is this after 11 years of just singing like you were actually a really bad singer, but then just from doing it for so long, you just sort of got good at it? Like, do you get some lessons even?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, I was always a closet singer. Driving in the car was my teacher. Like, I would drive and sing my heart out. I wouldn't care if someone's parked beside me looking at me like I'm some sort of an idiot. I'd just be like, whatever, this is what I love doing. And the passion just grew more and more. So I sung in the car, sung in the shower, sung wherever I could. And I guess I gradually got better. Sorry. I never really looked at myself as if I was a good singer. And once I joined Fake News and kind of pushed the envelope a bit harder, I've pushed things beyond what I was comfortable doing. Okay. We actually work with a sound engineer, Sean. He's been incredible for us because he comes in the studio and he pushes me way, way beyond my boundaries, purely because he knows what he can push me to do, whereas I never felt confident doing it. But once he pushed me there and we laid it down and recorded it, then I would practice that and nail it, and it'd just make me better in the long run. So he was an awesome part of that. Basically, Everyday Warrior, our first full-length album, that's purely what made me improve massively. Just the push that Sean put me through. I literally, at some points, I'd just look at him going, "Come on, mate, you're kidding yourself. I can't do that." And in the end, I'd get there. So it's just, I guess, persistence is key.
Yeah, and that's what a good producer, like engineer, but engineers do sort of double as producers, especially in sort of independent, smaller bands, where to have that relationship with the producer / engineer, where they know you, they know your voice, and know what you're capable of. It's it's really good. Like a lot of sort of, you guys, I'm not saying you guys are a tiny little band or anything, but a lot of bands, they first go into the studio, they sort of know what they're doing, they know what they want, and that they don't have the relationship with the engineer. But the fact that you know your guy and he knows what you're capable of, it can definitely bring out the best in people, can't it? 100%.
Absolutely.
So I was going to ask, do you play a bit of guitar as well? But you've already answered that. But when you're writing your songs and writing your lyrics, do you sort of sit there on your couch with your bass or your guitar and get the riffs, or is it the band's already sort of got the songs? And then maybe one other quick question we can add on to that is just, are the lyrics all coming from you? They get shared a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that sort of songwriting process, including how the lyrics sort of come along.
Yeah, so basically, it's been a little bit of a mix and match in regards to that. The reason I say that is when Everyday Warrior came to the table, the boys approached me when I was in my old band. I basically took one of their songs that was fully recorded. They asked me to just do a trial run, so I recorded, which now is called Brainwashed, off Everyday Warrior. So I sat there with my brother-in-law, recorded, I was literally standing in their pantry, and we recorded the vocals for that. I flicked it back to them, and that's when they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, this guy's pretty serious." So after that, that's when they approached me and officially offered me the position, and I said, "Look, I'm keen, let's do it." And they had the whole album of Everyday Warrior fully recorded. So all music was done, finished. Absolutely mint sounding punk rock. Yeah, so when that sort of came to the table, I had a full album, and I just went from the first one, just grabbed it and just felt the mood, whatever the mood I was feeling to the music, the beat, the guitars. I would basically just base the lyrics around them. All the lyrics, I do write all the lyrics. When I go to the boys and I send them, I'll just record my vocals over the top of it in the car, basically, just a crappy little recording. I'll send it to the boys, and there might be a little bit of backwards and forwards there, and we'll just change a few minor things. But all in all, generally, it's just me writing lyrics based off the mood of the music, which the boys are unreal. Like the tunes they write they are so moody. So you can have one that sounds super happy, and then you just write a pop punk song to it, and then you got one that sounds super mysterious, you write a song about aliens, then you got another one that's really moody, and then you write one about a breakup. It's just, you feel it. The boys are just so good at just setting that mood, which therefore makes it just easy for me to just kind of start at a point and go from there. I get a topic based off the mood of the chords, really.
Okay, that's actually really super interesting to hear. Again, a couple of things. One is that, I grew up listening to a lot of the same punk music you grew up to, and maybe someone who isn't into punk might think, it's like people who aren't into metal or aren't into classical, it all sounds the same. But when you know a genre and you love a genre, you do hear the intricacies of the music, don't you? And you get the feel for it. So, leading up to this, I was listening to quite a bit of your stuff, and I sort of hear that a little bit of this and that. It's got that definite. You guys, I think, out of all this sort of southern Queensland bands, you guys are definitely doing that best mid-school sound out of everyone that I know.
Awesome.
And And I can hear the influences of that sort of, the more, little bit more of the thrashy stuff, versus a little bit more of the pop punk stuff. There's a little bit of everything, but that's good too. Like it's when you guys. You're definitely not a tribute act. You're your own band, but I can definitely hear that ode to that era of the golden age of that sort of 90s 2000s style of epitaph punk, burning heart punk, And so why not have some fun with it? Why not spread your sound around over that and add your own flavour to it?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, all the guys in the band, like every single member in Fake News, that's where we came from. That's our blood and bone. We all grew up listening to the same stuff, which just works perfectly for us. So for us to hone in on a particular sound, it just works so well because, like Darren and I, both of our favourite bands are strung out. The other boys, they're like Mick, he loves Pennywise, and the other boys, it's all very closely based around those same sort of bands in the same era. So we couldn't really go too wrong if we're all that tight in the music we listen to.
Yeah, and you got to be tight, and you guys are tight, and you play a lot, and you're a bit more, you're not a bunch of kiddies, 18-year-olds, with crappy Pacifico guitars. You got your good gear, and you've been around for a long time, so you're playing hard thrash stuff. If you want to sound, do that strung out sound, you got to know what you're doing, right? Totally. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, we're a bunch of blown out old guys, but we make it work.
All right, cool. So that's it's good to hear that. It's a good bit of backstory, a bit of heritage, a bit of where you're coming from. But probably one just last question before we get into the song stuff. Like, you're from the sunny coast, but I know some of the guys are from the Gold Coast. I didn't actually know you're from the sunny coast. I thought you were from the Gold Coast as well. How did you join the band? Like, how did that happen? How did you join the band?
That's a good question. Basically, this goes back to earlier what I was saying about when I recorded Brainwash with my brother-in-law. The boys had hit me up, and I loved their music, and I was so into it, and I was like, this is the dream band to be in. But the fact that they were in Goldie, I kind of backed off a little bit. I had a conversation with Mick at the time, because Mick and I had played in previous bands and met each other at shows prior to that. So Mick, when he joined Fake News and met Darren, he mentioned me. So that's sort of how it all come about. And at first, I recorded the vocals, sent it back to the guys, and we're all sitting in a good place. We had a chat, but it kind of fizzled out. I was a little bit like, I don't know if I can commit to that. Like Gold Coast it's a 2-hour drive. It's not really going to be easy for us. So, and at the time in my life, I wasn't in a position where I could fully commit. To be honest, I think it was about 8 months to a year later when the boys called me again and basically just said, look, we want to FaceTime you tonight if you're free. Let's have a chat. We just want to talk to you. So I was just like kind of thinking, I think I know where this is going. I'm at a pretty good point in my life. So they called me up and they basically laid it down and said, look, we'll make it work. You make it work. We'll all come together. Let's do it. And I just said, look, I'm so keen. I'm sick of not playing music. I love it. So we gave it a shot, and we've never looked back. And to be honest, the distance thing, it's honestly never really been a big burden. I mean, it's a minor thing. When we rehearse, we all meet in Brisbane. We make it work. It's there. Everyone's traveling the same distance.
Yeah.
And I mean, if one person was to complain, you'd be like, mate, like, come on. But no one does. We love it. So it's a big distance, 2 hours, but realistically, in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. So that's just the way we look at it, and we just make it work.
Nice. I'll take my hat off to you guys. I sort of joke, being from Tweed Heads, I don't even like going further than Coolangatta. It's like 100 metres over the border. I need to bring my passport if I leave Coolangatta, So I'll tell you what, I'll take my hat off to you.
Cheers, man.
Yeah. But when you're on a good wicket too, when you're on a good thing, you're on a good thing, yeah. So it definitely helps, doesn't it? You know. All right.
Absolutely,
Cool.
yeah.
Well, this is sort of the next little stage of this interview. We're going to sort of get into your lyrics now. You've recorded a bit of stuff. We spoke about coming up with lots of different lyrics, lots of different songs, in probably somewhat of a short period of time too, I'd imagine, like writing for that album, even though you've released some stuff since then.
Yeah.
But I think we won't go straight with some of the album songs. We're going to go with the single that you just actually released as the first track we're going to have a look at. It's called Moving On. I watched the film clip today. So this isn't coming out live, but it's actually this. We're filming this on the day that the video clip came out. What's actually kind of cool as well. It's good of you to do that. Before we started recording, everyone listening out there, I did say to Tim, I know we like to make fun of people on social media and all the likes, but it is extremely rewarding when you release a video and you start getting heaps of notifications about likes and thumbs up, and it's okay to revel in that little bit. It's okay to enjoy it. So I made him.
Absolutely, yeah.
I made him turn his notifications off though, because he's on the phone doing this interview and it kept buzzing and buzzing and buzzing. I'm sorry to steal your high there, Tim, mate. But the notifications have got to go off.
Good. At least
Testament to you, though.
At least I got something to check up on afterwards.
Yeah, stockpile them up. But yeah, it'd be at least testament to you. Well, your phone was going nuts, so better than not, releasing something and not getting any notifications, I suppose, right? Okay. So yeah, look, moving on. Song released on the 27th of March, 2024. Here we go. Let's have a look at what's going on here. Where did I go wrong? I tried to find where I belong. I held onto this for far too long, and I'm moving on. So right from the start, it's pretty obvious. The title of the song's, in a sense, making it obvious that it's about moving into the next stage of your life. Maybe being a little bit lost, working out who you are. The opening line, where did I go wrong, though, is the one I want to sort of hang the hat on a little bit, because that's probably the most telling one. It opens up the song. It frames everything. Actually, before I get into this, the video clip has a girlfriend or a model, checking on the phone. So I'm sort of hinting to me that this might be an ex-relationship. But the question is, where did you go wrong? Was it something with relationships, life decisions? Did you get busted drink driving? What happened there? So maybe I'll hand it over to you. Where did I go wrong? What does that line mean?
Well, yeah, basically, you couldn't have introduced that any better. It really is a very broad spectrum of the lyrics, but the film clip and the lyrics they go on a different path to the original. So basically, the concept of the film clip is all based on how Darren perceived the song, which is really cool. I love the fact that the way he perceived it, we've created this image, which is really awesome. But he come up with the whole concept. Darren put in so much effort with this clip, and it shows. It's just come out so well. But all in all, the film clip is basically just about the mistakes we make in life, how you question yourself and think, like, how did I fuck up so bad? I really need to, get my shit back together. I need to focus really hard and get myself back in line and move on. Don't sit here and dwell on what I'm going through, even though right now is a super tough time. Let's just move on and forget about it. So that's basically the main premises of the song, and we kind of did hope that people can relate to it as well, because, everyone's going through shit. Everyone's going through something different, whether it's you lose someone, whether it is a breakup, whether you did lose your license for drink driving. We've all got a story, and this is just about, don't let it bring you down. Just move on. Change your thought process, change your mind.
It's definitely written there. But the thing about this podcast is Tim, so I'm going to have to pull you up a little bit on that because there's many songs are written in that broad context for people to be able to relate. You know, obviously there's lots of songs about, you know, relationships, heartbreak and stuff. But this podcast is actually asking the songwriter, you know, what was there, and there might not be, but was there maybe a couple of specific events or incidences? So when you wrote this, I'd like to think that maybe an image popped into your head of going, oh, far out, or maybe someone else, you know. So what if I could ask, you know, you don't have to say anything you don't want to say, but was there a couple of things that popped into your head for you personally when you wrote it?
No. So yeah, that's a great question you ask, and I'm glad you did sort of get to the nitty gritty of it because what it was at the time when I was writing the lyrics of that song, I was working it was my previous job to this one, and I literally was just in a rut with this job. It was emotionally destroying me. I was losing sleep over it, and it was very stressful. And I actually ended up making the call to pull the pin and apply for a new job and start fresh somewhere else. So at the time I was going through this whole thing is when these lyrics come about. So it really was the trigger at the start, where did I go wrong, was literally me going, where did I go wrong with this job? Why am I still here? Why am I doing it?
Yeah, so it's a work thing.
That's really what put me on the journey of the lyrics. So
cool.
you're absolutely right. There are triggers, and that's where it came from.
You're a carpenter by trade, and you were obviously working for just another, like a building company or something, and but, you know, there's a lot of good people in the building industry and you know, tradies and stuff, but there's also some people that are total pricks in the industry too, aren't there, that just don't give a shit about their staff and the, you know, money or even quality of work, you know. So was it the boss?
Yeah.
We're not going to throw the company under the bus. You don't have to say who they were, but was it the boss that was ruthless? Were they, you know, do you take really big pride in your workmanship? Are they all wanting shortcuts, or was it a funding thing? You're not getting a bit of everything, you know? Was there a couple of things there that were just not working for you? Or?
Look, it was a little bit of everything. It was a promised pay rise. Dealing with customers, like we were building houses for people, building $1 million homes, and dealing with people that are just not satisfied with the way it's going, not so much the way I'm building the house, but the way the company's dealing with issues. There was just lots of issues that all kind of compiled in one. So, but yeah, I was basically promised a pay rise, and they sat on it for about 8 weeks, and then at the end of the 8 weeks, things started quietening down, and they went back on their offer, and that was just enough for me to on the spot kind of call it. So, but yeah, it was a lot of stuff compiling into one that caused the issue. So.
Yeah. Did you just do the big full punk rock, you know, sort of fuck you sort of thing and threw shit in the air and just jumped on your skatey and skated off down the street? Was it fully like that?
Trust me, do a little kickflip off the curb.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have done that, but I basically just wrote a resignation letter and put a lot of time and effort into it just to really make them feel like they'd screwed up. So at the end of the day, when I hit send on that email, it was a great feeling. It was basically my own little kickflip.
Yeah, emotional, positive. Like, I'm going to say emotional kickflip, but that doesn't sound very good, but it is kind of. Yeah, okay, cool. So,
that's the name of our next song, Emotional Kickflip.
You heard it first on the Lyrical Wax podcast. That would actually suit a song or an EP called Emotional Kickflip would totally suit you guys 100%. Darren, get onto it. Write a riff for us right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So
yeah, get writing, buddy.
Yeah, get writing. So yeah, just sort of like moving through, you know, like I'll change my thoughts, I'll change my heart, I'll change my mind. I'll fix this head of mine. So, you know, based on what you're saying, it wasn't so much that you'd sort of screwed your head over for, you know, because you got all screwed up in drugs and all that sort of stuff. it was just like I'm just in such a bad place because of the situation I'm in, so I just need to fix this head because I'm just so like emotionally and drained and just pissed off and frustrated.
Stressed, basically. It was it was a stressful situation, so it was about just clearing my head and withdrawing myself from the stress and moving on.
Yeah, and it's kind of there's the next half of that goes, I'll gain some patience and gain some time. I'll see what I can find. So, like, literally, I'll see if I can find another job. I don't know if it just instead because it rhymed, because you actually thinking, I need to find I need to find another job. There's an interesting line that you did say. I'll gain some patience. Where did that one come from? That's the heart and mind that people always sort of say, but to say you'll gain some patience, I thought was quite interesting.
I think it was all based around the fact that rather than just quitting on the spot without a backup plan, it was just about slowing down, being patient, waiting for an opportunity, and then sort of dropping the bomb and leaving. So it was just, I guess that's where the patience came into it, is just to not rush into the next decision, just kind of take a breath and then move on.
Okay. Yeah, so that definitely makes sense in that context as well. The next little thing I sort of picked up on here that I think, again, I try and incorporate a little bit of psychology stuff into this podcast because, at the end of the day, that's part of it, the music and the psychology. So there's a line here I like that I think could be sort of expanded on a little bit. I'm trying to be strong and trying to find where I'm from. So the line I like that I think would be a good one, and maybe to hear your perspective on, trying to be strong. What's where do you pull your strength from in these sort of difficult situations?
That's a great question. My strength comes from basically, circling yourself with the right people. Music is a huge part of strength, is being able to express myself through these lyrics. So, my wife, my friends, the people around me that are positive and lifting me up, that's definitely where the strength comes from. But also the line, trying to find where I'm from, is basically stating that I've always been a certain person. I've always been who I am. And in this job, I did find myself super stressed, and I found myself changing because I wouldn't react to situations the way I usually would because of the stress and how I was feeling. I wouldn't be as outspoken and the normal person I was, super happy and loud. So basically that line is going, I want to go back. I want to find where I'm from, the person I am, and where I sort of originated and who I became. So that's sort of where that sort of stems from.
Yeah, so, strength, resilience, it's all sort of stuff that with psychology you try to instill in people. Some people, have it in them, but they forget it. Like sort of like yourself, you sort of notice this changed you because of the stress and everything. People, as a core human being, we are who we are, but we are also products of our environment, where it can change your personality in the sense that you're more tired, stressed, worn down. You're not going to be as friendly. You're not going to be as happy and stuff, and you're going to take things out on other people. So it's definitely worth acknowledging. That sort of stuff. And again, the other thing is building resilience into people and strength for people is a big part of psychology too. As I said, some people had it in them, but then they've lost it for whatever reason. Some people might have been beaten down a lot of their life, so you're really trying to instill it into them and actually get them to believe. So it depends where you meet them, but it's a very, very, very core part of especially like helping people get over depression and so on. Maybe not so much things like anxiety and stuff, but things like depression definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so there's another line here moving down that is, again, another similar, maybe not so much a psychological theme, but worth discussing. because I'm moving on. I'll be strong. I'll get it right. I'll get it wrong. So definitely rhymes really well. I'll be strong. I'll get it right. I'll get it wrong. But was there some stuff, when you were trying to, make this change professionally and so on? Was there some things that you actually got totally wrong, even though you thought it might be right at the time?
Look, I'd be making it up if I said there was. That was more of just a lyrical flow, to be honest, from a writing perspective. Just based on the way the song was going and the lyrics I was writing, it was basically this is where it just sort of came into my perception, just stating that there's going to be times that I get it right. There's going to be times I get it wrong. It's just about, it doesn't matter about that. It's just about no matter what, at the end, just move on and just keep focused.
Yeah, and that's totally fine, because again, you write things in lyrical flows. We all do it because in some things just rhyme. Sometimes you want to say something super specific, but you can't get it to freaking rhyme, so you got to say something else a little bit. But it in the context of the song, and the lyrical flow and the way the song flows, it totally makes sense. So it does. I would like to ask this one because I thought this song might have been about a relationship. So again, this could be a lyrical flow line, but I would like to hear if it's not the line that goes, "And I won't lie, I know it will be all right." So before I spoke to you, I highlighted that going, "Oh, what did you say? What bullshit did you try and pass off as the truth?" or just lyrical flow. Honestly, don't bullshit.
Yeah,
don't lie.
It is. Yeah. I won't lie. No. It is, again. It is lyrical flow, but again, it's just basing the song around the fact that like, be honest, like, don't lie, just be the better person and move on. So it is kind of it was a lyrical flow, but at the same time, it's a bit of a message as well. Just to be honest. The whole change your thoughts, change your mind, be positive, move on, and don't lie along the way. Because
and in the context of even though I try not to have try to analyze broad sweeping lyrics, people do write in themes, and there's probably a little bit. I read that a little bit now in the context of how you've framed the song. Not lying to yourself. Being sort of honest to yourself where you're at, and that's also, again, we probably won't get too much into that, but that is definitely another psychological thing we look at in session, trying to help people realize that they're lying to themselves. Well, everyone knows they're lying, but it's like they'll come in and say, mum's been on the phone an hour later, just totally giving them up, and then they waltz in, "Oh yeah, how's your day been?" "Oh no, it's been great." And it's like, "Oh really?"
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, cool. So moving on, the new single. Again, it's going to probably be a little bit of time before this is released. Have you got another single coming out in 2 weeks, or is this the new single, for the next month or two? Or
so we do have another single called Radio, which look, don't quote me on dates. I've got so many dates going through my head at the moment, but I know it's coming out in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, we've got Radio and then we've got another one, Not Giving Up, which is coming out not long after that. So also another thing we haven't announced yet, which I'm happy to say now, is we do have another film clip. Tomorrow night, me and the boys are actually going into the studio and we're going to be recording another film clip, which is going to go to one of the songs off the upcoming EP. So that's just another thing to be excited about.
Bit of a teaser for us.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So the next song we're going to get into, Dying World. I will say, Tim, there's some broad sweeping comments and this and that, and broad sweeping lyrics, and some people like cryptic titles, but your titles of your songs are pretty explicit. They're making unless Dying World's about. Yeah, I know you could surprise me here very much, but I don't think. I think it is actually about planet Earth and pollution and we're fucking the world up, right? That's pretty much what this song's about. If I'm wrong on this one, I shouldn't be doing. I don't think I should be doing this podcast.
Yeah, it's definitely not about an emotional kickflip. That's for sure.
No, that's right. The world's on a never-ending, impossible flip. But anyway, we won't get into that. Dying world. As we breathe, we fill our lungs with toxins and disease. Could it be we've come too far to plant the better seed? Now the world is broken. So there's a bit more that comes down to my sort of interpretation of this. I'll first, like I did make a point, this is an environmental song, but maybe is this like right from the start, like climate change is like a very hot topic. It has been for several years and so on. So it could easily be painted that because that's just your go-to when you talk about environmental issues. But is it, are you sort of, you sort of grew up in a coastal beach town, you grew up in the sort of more rural area. Is it actually more, like sort of a bit about local environmental damage and stuff? Again, I know it's easy to paint it as a broad thing for all, but for yourself personally, how do you sort of see your environmental beliefs and so on and views?
Yeah, so I think the first topic, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. It wasn't specifically based on global warming, but that's pretty well around the sort of concept. So basically stating that, we're building up the world. There's new technologies constantly coming out.
Okay.
There's new vehicles, bigger and better trucks, cranes, all sorts of things. We're polluting the world. So very much so based around global warming. But yeah, basically we're poisoning the air. We're breathing it in. We're polluting the earth. People are littering. It's just based around that sort of concept of the fact that we are doing this. We're all very aware we're doing this. But we've kind of come too far. Like we're so comfortable with the technologies we're using, the way we're living, that it will never change. If anything, it's probably going to get worse. I mean, we are doing things these days like bringing out electric cars and we're going solar, and there are things we are doing to improve, but at the same token, we are also building bigger plants to control bigger and more powerful machinery. So it is a very tough one. We're polluting the world at a pretty rapid rate.
Yeah, because that was the thing that I wanted to actually ask you in a sense. We can see we're going nowhere and we're fading out too soon. Sort of say we're going nowhere. It sort of has a little bit of political connotations, but you use the word we a lot in this lyric. World broken, we're choking on every single word we say. We're wishing that we listen, but we just kept resisting. So that's when I was reading this. It was like, I was first, being a punk band, again, a little bit by default. Maybe this is a little bit of a political rally. But because you use we so much, I started thinking, well, hang on, is this actually about just us as a society more so, that we're actually screwing it up? And we're
the
also...
human race, yeah.
Yeah, and we're also apathetic to it. And that's pretty much what you sort of said then, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, it is basically, it's directed as we being the whole entire human race. Because, this song isn't, the lyrics aren't directed as, it's not a blame song. I'm not putting this across as blame, because that's why I'm sort of saying we know, we're all resisting. There are people in the world that are trying to do better than others, and I know that. But in the same token, there's people in the world that are doing better, but also are feeding the cause as well. There's vegans that drive diesel cars. There's all sorts of different people that are trying to do their thing, which is great, and I'm not downplaying that in any way, but we're all still guilty in our own way because we still have things that we can't live without. Like a mobile phone, for example, is still contributing to the overall spectacle. Like the global warming thing it's every individual little thing, whether it's whether you throw a toothpick on the ground or whether you save a cow,
or your China.
It's all contributing.
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's the last, so again, it's sort of, you sum that up in the very last line of the song here. Not everyone can feel the same, but we're all equally to blame. Why is it such a dying shame? It's gotten insane. So that definitely harks back to what you said. We're not everyone feels the same. People have different views of, obviously there's climate change nihilists or what, and I'm not here to say, which is right or wrong. But there's people with very different views on pollution and recycling and stuff. My friend Jody gives me so much crap because I've got one recycling bin and one trash bin, but she comes over, where's your soft plastic bin? Where's your hard plastic bin? Where's your bottle bin, And
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and then my mum comes around and tries to raid my yellow bin because she wants all the bottles and stuff, and it's like, it's like, Mum, just leave it alone. So we're all very different in our views when it comes to environmental. But to a certain, as society,
and that's very, very well based on where it stems from. Like saying, like, everyone's doing their part, but at the end of the day, until you live in a black hole and sit in a room with all the lights out, you're not doing everything. So there's no way anyone's ever going to do that. So that's why I'm saying point. It's not a blame song. Yeah, it's not in no way a blame, and it's just basically saying that the world is dying, and unfortunately, the way we live, that's always the way it's going to be. No one's to blame. It's just we're all equally to blame.
You said,
that's kind of contradicting in a way. I mean, everyone's to blame, but not singling anyone out is more what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I get that now when you say like that, 100%. But so, again, for people out there listening, the guests on this show or this podcast I ask them to submit a few songs of their choice they think best represent them and gives a bit of insight to them themselves personally. Out of all the songs, you got lots of songs out. You submitted an environmentally conscious song. Yourself personally, as you don't have to tell us, your voting political preferences if you're green or whatnot if you don't want. But is it for you to forward a song about environmental issues and your view on it? Why was I suppose are you a massive environmentalist? Is it just something you think's on your mind? Like what was your rationale for putting forward an environmental song?
Look, I'm not an environmentalist, so to speak. I mean, if anything, I care about wildlife a lot. I care about animals, and I'm probably in the worst building industry ever because of the rate that we're cutting down trees. So it's very contradicting of me, but I do care about wildlife. I do care about the way we treat. Like I would never. I wouldn't even kill a spider. I'm very conscious of that sort of stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an environmentalist, but I'm conscious of the way we are and the things that we are doing to the world. So some things worse than others. Some things, you need a car to survive, to get from A to B and get money to get to your job. So there's certain things you can't change, but there are things that I think we could all be a lot more conscious of. But I'm not a very political person. I do get politics and I understand it, but I try not to get into it too much, basically purely because everyone is so different and politics can basically ruin friendships and family. So if I can avoid it, I will.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand. The song wasn't written from a political way. It was more just a topic based on just the way we are as a society and just one way to look at it, really.
Yeah, so again, the purpose of this podcast is obviously to get into lyrics, but get into a bit of a gist of who people are. And it's, you've written a song that is a very political hot topic, yet you've written it in a way that's quite moderate and as you say, no one's to blame, but everyone's to blame, so you're not really pointing the finger at any individual person. So again, would it be fair to say maybe a little bit of a summary of who you are? You're a bit of a peacekeeper. And I sit on the fence. So when I say sit on the fence, I don't say that as a bad word. It's actually a good quality. It's just unfortunately in the world of clickbait and headlines, being polarizing is popular. But do you sort of see yourself as, just a moderate who likes to just sort of suss out what's going on both sides, be willing to listen to both sides of the argument?
Absolutely. And yeah, like you said, I think if anything, sitting on the fence is probably the best place to be because you're not picking side A, you're not picking side B. You can see positive in both. You can see negative in both. I certainly don't really like getting involved too much in that sort of left wing, right wing, those sort of things because there are definitely so many things you can take from both. So I've seen so many friendships and families at that get destroyed purely from political views. So I just like to care about things that matter and not get too political about it. I don't like to blame people. Yeah. I don't like to start fights about things like that.
Yeah, obviously, for some reason I keep, every other person I've interviewed, just a very brief thing about COVID comes up and I hate talking about it. I don't want to talk about it and I don't want to open up a can of worms. But I think, during that era, it was very polarizing, wasn't it, of what was going on. But the thing I would like to say that is actually with psychology, in cognitive therapy, there's a concept of black and white thinking. So if you're very black and white in your thinking, you're very all or nothing. You're not really able to see the other side of the argument, or you just have this belief that you believe is so true. And that there's value in being and sticking to your convictions. But often when we talk about, depression and anxiety and helping people recover from it, we try to soften that black and white thinking, let people give an opportunity and ways and techniques to sort of see the other side of the fence. Because, in the context of what you're saying, those family members that have just totally ripped apart because they can't see each other's side of the argument, are they more happy or are you more happy, with the family system? So there's a lot of value in sitting on the fence and seeing both sides of the argument. So that's why I say it's not a dirty word. So yes, all right, cool.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing to know. A good thing to know about you, Tim. It's you do come across pretty chilled out sort of guy, so that probably has a little bit to do with it. Speaking of being a chilled out sort of guy, maybe you are a chilled out sort of guy now, but the next song we're going to do, apparently according to your lyrics, you were not a chilled out sort of guy. Life of the Party. Another very, very there's nothing cryptic about. There's nothing cryptic about these lyrics.
Yeah.
And maybe this is one I also can relate to in a very broad, sweeping way.
I think we can all relate to this one at some point in our lives.
So here we go. I got some good questions for you on this one too, Tim. So be prepared to not lie and give us a little bit of feedback. I remember a time not so long ago that you said that I'm a goddamn animal. You're not wrong. I have a big appetite. So let's have a party tonight. Okay. That's definitely set things up. But the note I've made here when I was reading these lyrics, but like every single movie where a family goes to a holiday in the cabin on the woods, it starts off a heap of fun, but it's going to end really, really bad, right? That's where this song's going.
Absolutely.
But here we go. This is the Lyrical Podcast where I'm going to ask you very specific questions. Who of your friends, you can name them specifically, throw them who of your friends, who was your ride or die, who was the guy that said, God damn it, you are a party animal, and you'd say to them, Yeah, let's go party tonight. Give us a shout out to a couple of names.
All right, yeah. So this goes both ways. It's me saying it to him, and it's him saying it to
Beautiful.
me. Certain circumstances in our lives, but it's my mate Nick, which was in my old band.
Okay.
Not Nick from Fake News, but this was Nick from Not to Regret. He was our drummer. I tell you what, we had some times, and we were both the life of the party at certain stages in our life, and this is basically life of the party doesn't mean exactly what you'd think. Like he's the fun guy, he's the good guy. It's basically a fine line between are you this guy that is the fun guy to be around at the party, or did you fuck it up and go too far? So it's about the fine line of being the life of the party or going too far and totally ruining the party. So
Yeah, that's
definitely.
You've made that pretty clear, and then the lyrics that come when I've had enough, I know that I should leave, but I can't stand up on my own feet. Am I the life of the party now, or did I fuck it up somehow? So again, definitely something I think a lot of punks can relate to. Um, I made another little note here. Is this the prequel to Moving On? But you told me Moving On's about. I didn't know what Moving On was sort of specifically more about work or stuff. But in a way, it sounds like the prequel to Moving On. Like that's the life of a party. I fucked up a lot of stuff, and now I think I better move on, get my life together.
Definitely can work 100% because when you are that life of the party, you do like. There's a lyric at the end, basically saying that I woke up with the fear, and the fear being when you wake up from a drunk night, you have that fear where you're like, fuck, what did I do last night? Did I make a fool of myself? So you could definitely put Moving On after that, going, don't want to go there again.
That for people out there at home. But I'll wake up with the fear and think, how did I get here? I lost another year just drinking beers. Let's go. Let you finish that with "Let's go." And I know, like as singers, we go "Let's go," to get the crowd. But I mean, could I read that as in let's just go again anyway? I don't know. That's just being a bit cheeky, maybe.
Let's go do it again. It's definitely one of those punk rock sort of let's go.
Yeah.
But it can definitely be interpreted in let's go home or let's go do it again.
I tell you something very funny, or not funny, but kind of true. And I'm sure people out there will listen to this, when that feeling that you get when you can't remember anything, but you wake up with this sinking guilt feeling. It's very bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can't actually remember what happened, but when you wake up with that guilt feeling, something's happened. And in psychology, especially sort of mindfulness style therapy, we actually really encourage people to not hide from these bad emotions. So if you wake up feeling really guilty or fearful or something, it's actually your emotions communicating to you, telling you what you really need to know. So, we try and push our emotions away and deny it. But if we feel the emotion of guilt, if you wake up with the emotion of guilt, emotions communicate to us, they communicate to others, and they motivate us to do something. So the best example, fear. If you've got the emotion of fear, it's communicating to you you're in danger. It's communicating to other people around you that you're in danger, that you're all in danger, and it motivates you to run, get the fuck out of here. So to wake up with that sense of fear, or that sense of, it's like, oh my God, I'm sort of in, what have I done? I'm nervous, do I need to get out of here? How do I run, fight or flight? To wake up with that emotion of guilt in your stomach, it's telling you have done something that's compromised your morals. Okay, so that's what the emotion
Yeah,
of
yeah.
guilt is. So you can push it away.
The anxiety.
Yeah, you can push it away, or you can listen to your emotion. What is the guilt? And then it motivates us to do something. So motivate to go and fucking apologize and try and make amends.
Yeah, yeah. Find out what you did wrong and
Yeah,
hope there's
find
no
out.
video footage.
Yeah, that's right. Am I the loudest one? Did I just wreck the fun? I just want to get wasted with everyone. There's a lot of there's a lot of ambivalence meaning for like two things, opposite things at the same time with getting wasted, isn't there? It is a lot of fun. That's why alcohol exists, and whatever you're into, and it does make
Yeah.
us loud, and it's less inhibited. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's look. I was asking you about your ride or die and some party stories. Are you brave enough to tell us a story where you sort of maybe crossed the line and screwed things up a little bit, or do you want to pass on that one?
Oh, oh, look, it's not happened once. It's been many times. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a list of times I've probably pushed it a bit too far. On my 21st birthday, we threw a party in my mum and dad's shed. They travelled around. They went North Australia, Darwin. They went for 4 years, so left me kind of there. My sister, she moved out too, so I had the 10-acre property to myself, and we threw some pretty big parties. For my 21st, my sister come back, and they bought me this incredible cake. Like, it would have cost a lot of money. It was from the Cheesecake Shop. I don't know if you've had a
Yeah,
cake from there, but they're
they're
pretty
beautiful.
top notch. And yeah, the candles were all lit, and when they were singing happy birthday, rather than blowing out the candles, I decided to headbutt the cake and got burns on my forehead. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely been there. That's one of the many.
That's a good one. That's a good get out of jail one. It's a very funny story where you crossed the line and obviously felt guilty to your sister the next day, but it wasn't too brutal where like someone died or some really crazy heavy shit. So good middle ground story there, you mate.
Yeah, I never woke up with the fear in prison, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, that is a bit of an apex party maneuver. That one, I tell you what. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, I mean, I could sort of, you could, if I want to talk psychology, you could talk psychology about drinking and partying and recovery and all that sort of stuff. It's covered a lot by lots of different people, so I'm not 100% sure if we can get into too much. But I thought this was also a nice little opportunity to have a little bit of a laugh because we do like a nice party story and a song about partying and getting out of hand. But maybe I could say you still have your big blowouts here and there. You're a bit more chill in your old age.
Oh yeah, look, I in my younger days, I had this thing where it pissed all my mates off. I just couldn't get a hangover. I just wouldn't get a hangover. Could party all night, drink like an animal, wake up the next day, and I could do it. I could back it up. Could do it day after day. Just didn't get them. But yeah, unfortunately, now I am a bit older, and I actually do know what it feels like to get a hangover. So I'm a lot more chill in my old age, but I still do like to party a little bit. So I wouldn't say I get to the life of the party stage, but
Okay.
I definitely know how to send it once in a while.
Yeah. And maybe the last question actually that I would like to ask, and again, is this maybe another lyrical flow thing? But it's definitely worth asking you because it's quite a poignant line where after when you say, "But I'll wake up with the fear and think, how did I get here? I lost another year." So I lost another year. Um, Again, like it's worth asking. Did you do you think you lost sort of some years of your life just being wasted, or did you actually sort of manage to always keep life on the
Look,
tracks?
I wouldn't. I reckon I've lost some years drinking, but when I say that, if you ask me if I would go back and do it again, 100%
Yes.
every day of the week. So technically, I wouldn't say it is lost, I guess, but I partied pretty hard in my younger years. We drank and partied nearly every day. Well, not every day, but every weekend for a good solid stint there. So I guess, yeah, the moral of the story is drink responsibly, kids.
That's right, and don't vape either. Yeah. So I will say too, you know, you and me, we grew up in the very far opposite sides of Brisbane, you know, and a couple of hours away either side from Brisbane. But I think it does come with that sort of punk, especially that punk, like there's the old school punk, you know, and there's the mid school punk that I mentioned before. But you know, the old school, just like London punks in the city with mohawks and stuff. But we were that punk generation, surfing, skating, you know, riding motos and bikes and drinking and smoking weed. And it just came with the territory, didn't it? And like, because I don't know what, if you're attracted to punk and you get into that sort of party lifestyle, if you love the party lifestyle and you get attracted to, you know, punk, there's obviously, maybe it's, but you know, it's probably both, to be honest, isn't it? They go hand in hand, but it just comes with it, and it's not. People might be doing it as a little bit of a coping thing, getting wasted a lot, but to be quite honest, people probably, you know, I think there's a lot of people that do it. They're not doing it because they're coping with trauma stuff. They just fucking love that lifestyle of surf, skate, punk, you know, drinking, you know, it's because it's fucking fun. It's just so much fun, you know.
It does. It just takes the edge off. It does. It makes you I guess alcohol is known to make you more confident than you'd usually be. So in a situation where you may feel a little bit more reserved and withdrawn from the conversations and stuff, you have a bit of alcohol in the mix and you're fully confident. You talk to people you don't usually talk to. You probably say things that are a little bit more funny. So I mean, that's another sort of ingredient to why we love it. It's just, I guess, everything in moderation is completely fine. Like I said, there's been stages in my life where I've definitely not done it in moderation, but I look back now and if I could have my time again, I'd do it all the same. I had such a good time, probably burnt some brain cells, probably smoked a bit too much weed when I was younger, but hey, like, my old band, like I said, we were together 11 years. Every single song in that band I wrote high. So it definitely brought out some creative juices, but that's all past me now. I've had my fun, done that. So I can look back and go, look, would I change it? Nah, it made me who I am today. And if I changed all that stuff, I might be boring now. Who knows?
Yeah, fair enough. That's a good way to look at it. Absolutely. Alrighty, cool. Well, look, we'll move on from that one. It was good to cover, and it was good. I'm really glad you forwarded that song. It was good to have a laugh, but a bit of a serious comment as well about the perils of alcohol. But anyway, next song, what is very much not about partying with your mates in a shed when mum and dad are in in another state. Numbered Areas. So maybe a touch more cryptic title, this one, compared to all the other ones, but it's kind of obvious. But based on all your artwork and everything, it is. Again, I like to think it's obvious what this is about. I bloody hope I'm right. Numbered Areas. Here we go. I hear the lies growing all around me. They surround me, but it comes at no surprise. My head is pounding, the siren sounding. History dies. So the opening stanza probably doesn't relate to it as much. So I'll sort of just go on a little bit. Intimidation, new innovation, take them away for decontamination. Experimentation, where did you take them? You hide them away to study and cage them. So, Numbered Areas, Area 51. We're talking about aliens here, right? And the
nailed it.
Yeah, and
yeah.
You know, and again, it's actually on the cover.
I'm actually impressed. You're one of the first people to just straight up get the Area 51 reference from the title.
Oh, there we go. I'm very proud of myself now. I mean, I didn't. I mean, when it's an odd title, it's not very clear what it is, and even the first stanza, it's not super clear what it is. But as things sort of go on, it becomes a lot more interesting. So
Yeah.
The line I want to ask you is actually in the first, the siren sounding, history dies. Is that when you say that, do you mean like, the government writes the history? So if we don't let the people see the aliens, then that moment in history is no longer doesn't exist because the government didn't, or
That's
whoever.
absolutely it. Like Area 51, like Roswell, like from what we know, like I'm not saying this is real. I want to believe it's real. I love believing it's real. I mean, I'm not crazy into it, but say Roswell was real and they are hiding aliens and stuff, they won't admit to us that they have them and it is real. So like you say, the story dies there. Until we 100% have proof and evidence of it, history dies with the government. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly where it stems from.
Are you like, I know you love your pop punk, and I knew that before we did this interview, but obviously Tom DeLonge from Blink 182 is a massive alien aficionado. Is there a bit of, did you get into this because of your love of pop punk and Tom DeLonge, and then so you're like, because I know people that really got into propaganda and then they became vegans and stuff, so is this sort of like is that the same sort of thing but with Blink 182 and aliens?
Look, I knew this question was coming, and you have every reason to ask it because, yes, Blink-182 were a huge influence to me, and Aliens Exist. It's Blink's best song. It's my favourite song of theirs.
Okay.
I love it. And like I said, I love to believe this stuff, whether it's real or not. I don't dive into it like Tom DeLonge. I'm not going to change my whole life and base it around it. But I love it and I want to believe. And if they come out tomorrow and said aliens existed, I'd be stoked. I mean, I just hope it's not like your Independence Day or your Mars attacks, but especially Mars attacks.
Especially Mars attacks. I also would
one of my all-time favourite movies. And,
okay, well that actually says more about you than all these lyrics in that case.
Actually, I've actually got a Mars Attacks picture right on this wall to the side of me here, but I won't move the camera because
we'll lose
I've
everything.
taped it down and
You are the only person I've ever met in my entire life that says, no judgment here, but you're the only person that's ever told me that Mars Attacks is their very favourite movie. So yeah, cool. That's very interesting. All right, I got to regroup after that a little bit. No. So it's kind of interesting too, because I had a few notes here a little bit about, like the government's lying to us, they're not telling us the truth. But again, just like looping back as you do in these, when you interview people and even in a bit of psychology session, it's not so much fuck you government, you're keeping secrets from us. It's just about, it'd just be really, really cool to know if aliens exist. Hey, like that's kind of what you're sort of saying to me. Is that right?
Just tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just tell us the truth. We want to know. We can handle it.
Yeah. Well, that actually leads to another question I had sort of lined up here. Again, not really a psychological question that I have an answer for, but hypothetically, if Roswell Area 51 happened and that all the conspiracy is true and the government is keeping a secret from us humans, why do you think, like, the government's done it for saying, the people won't accept it or not ready for it. But why do you think that the government would keep it a secret? Or what does Tom say? Or no, what do you say? I don't want to care about what Tom says.
I reckon I think the reason why the government wouldn't tell people, and if it is real, I think this is the reason why the government don't tell people, is because there are people out there that I think wouldn't take it well and they would probably freak out and it would just be a little bit too much for their minds to comprehend that there is aliens. I mean, everyone wants to believe in something. You've got Christianity, you've got Buddhism, you've got people that believe in aliens, you've got people that listen to Donald Trump, you've got people that listen to other politicians. everyone wants to believe in something, and I just think out of all the things in the world that are factual and there's truth about them, I think aliens are probably the most insane thing to comprehend. So that's why they're trying to keep it a secret. If it's real, that's why they're trying to keep it a secret. I mean, I just think there's people out there that would probably like freak out about it, and you've got doomsday preppers and you've got people out there that are already freaking out about the world. So I think like the world could go into a little bit of a freak out, and things could get a little bit kind of hairy. So that's my thought anyway. I just think that's probably the reason why we don't know. It's either it's not true or they're hiding it because they don't think we can handle it.
Is the trade-off, because we don't want, we can act like we're punks and anarchists and stuff, and let society crumble. But myself, generally, at my age, I don't really want society to crumble. Do you think, well, I think I know what you're going to say, but I'll ask you, do you think for the world to know there's aliens is worth society crumbling? Like if you're the president of the United States and you got this memo on your desk saying, shit, aliens are real, we have one captured in New Mexico, what would you do?
Oh man, that is a really good question. I mean, I would be too excited. I'd want everyone to know. I'd just be like, check out this thing we found. It's crazy. So, I mean, I'm probably not the best person to ask because I'm pretty like reckless like that. I just be like, yep, we got an alien. We're gonna chuck him on. He's gonna come talk to me live on air.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd probably talk gibberish anyway, but but yeah, no, I'd want people to know. I just think it'd be cool to. I would love to see how people react. I mean, if they do announce it and they told us right now, the world in its current state, if the government turned around tomorrow and the president went on the TV and said, hey, we're officially letting you know that this is real, I don't think the world would go into too much panic, but there would definitely be people out there that would probably overreact in a certain way.
Yeah, you could probably maybe 1 in every 20 Bunnings would get raided and end up catching on fire. But you take 1 in 20 Bunnings for the truth of aliens.
Yeah, me and my mates, we always had this conversation. If the world went into like complete anarchy and chaos, the first place we would go is Bunnings, lock it up, and then that would be like our camp, and then we'd just start building like war machines and anything you can make with the tools and materials that you got there. So you're basically pretty well set to take on zombies or aliens or anything.
Sounds more zombie than alien, but I get it. It's sort of the same thing in a way, isn't it? Yeah. Alrighty, cool.
That's it.
So again, another sort of a bit of a fun one. I can't actually. I'm not a intergalactic psychologist. I don't think that job actually, well, maybe it does. There's probably Elon Musk is probably paying some psychologist a shitload of money to talk to potential Mars astronauts how to manage their anxiety. But that's far above my pay grade. So but again, a little bit of fun, that one. Numbered areas, I got that one totally right. There we go. Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Tim, for giving me that. So that's pretty much the summary of the lyrics. I sort of like to do a little bit of a wrap up at the end, and it's and how the lyrics sort of represent the person, represent the band, and so on. I can, as soon as you sort of like the way you sort of grew up, I could just relate to that straight away anyway, because I sort of grew up in a similar sort of way. There's a bit of humor there. But there's also there's a bit of just pushing for your better self as well. I think that's a very, in a sense, a common theme in punk rock songs. I mean, there's lots of different. I suppose there's a lot of broad themes in punk, but you know, you definitely, if you look at bands like Pennywise, you know, there's a lot of just, you know, lift up, let's rise up, better for ourselves, and so on.
Yeah.
I definitely get that theme from you. You know, do you sort of consider yourself that sort of person where you sort of try and hang on, I'll backtrack a little bit, because you also sort of like, you give me the impression you're not too sort of, you're not really an intense dude that's really sort of trying to push things and stuff as well. But yourself personally, like, do you have a few mates where you've sort of sat down, you know, you've known a lot of people that have partied a lot, where you've sort of just given them a little bit of a pep talk? Or you know, is that sort of your style? Or again, you sort of don't really want to get too involved with that sort of stuff?
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's super important to be that way. If you got mates that are going through stuff and they're having a tough time, I think the best thing to do is pull them aside and have a chat to them and just find out what's going on. If you got mates that are treating you like shit, you don't react and treat them like shit back. You just find out what's going on in their lives. And yeah, I'm definitely about that. I do have that rise up, and I've got a little bit of a fuck the man sort of attitude. You know, don't let anyone bring you down, because I mean, just being in fake news, I've noticed over the last sort of 3 years, the more successful you get, the more people want to bring you down.
Okay.
And I think the best attitude to have is just ignore it and just rise up and fight through it. And I just think that's like a really strong message. So I like to try and push that message on to other people, is just don't let people get in your head and bring you down, because the only reason they're bringing you down is because they're going through shit. So the best thing to do is not just attack them, rise up in yourself and push forward, but talk to the person, find out what's going on, because they're probably going through shit, and the only reason they're having a go at you is because they've got insecurities and they're jealous of what you're doing. So I mean, yeah, it's crazy. The more successful anyone becomes, the more you're going to cop that sort of shit. So the best thing to do is just try and find out what that person's going through and help them through it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's like I totally agree with what you're saying there. It can be a little bit easier said than done, you know, when someone's on the attack
Oh,
to
absolutely.
you. But there's definite value, isn't it? Because you understand, when you start to understand where other people are coming from, it puts things in perspectives for yourself as well. Again, you know, it's another like, so dialectic behavior therapy. DBT teaches, again, people to, you know, so we say there's like two truths. You know, everyone has their truth and no one owns the truth. So maybe a little bit of a head fuck to get around. But the perfect example is, you know, if your mate breaks up with his missus, you can sit there as his mate and have a beer with him, and, you know, he's like ratting on, and you can totally agree with it. But, you know, his missus is sitting with her bestie ratting on all the bad shit that he's done as well, right? You know, she's not there going, "Oh my God, everything he's saying about me is totally true." So that's what I mean. There's two truths. There's two sides to the story. So if we can actually understand where the other person is coming from, you know, less black and white, a little bit of sitting, little bit of sitting on the fence. What you're sort of saying, you know, like, and sort of get a gist to where other people come from, work it out, and being willing and open to that, then it's actually going to make life things, problems, issues, stresses a lot more manageable and better and resolvable.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. One thing Darren in the band always says, and I quite like it, is he says, there's three sides to every story. There's his side, there's her side, and there's the truth.
Oh, okay.
Which I find...
Yeah, no, that's good. It's kind of like what I was saying, but kind of the truth's the fence. How about that? Does that sound right? Like, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
so
yeah, it's when you've got two arguments, you're never gonna settle on that truth. So that's why I find it funny. It's yeah, but yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying. It's very true, and I mean, if anyone knows psychology, it's you. You know it best. So I reckon I could probably learn a lot from you as well. And
I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not the only one out there, but I'm the most punk rock motherfucking psychologist in the hood, yo. Maybe not.
Yeah,
I'm the only one that's got a
take
podcast.
that.
I'm the only one that's got a podcast that interviews punk rockers about the lyrics, as far as I'm aware of. So there better not be someone else out there doing it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go talk to them and find out why they're doing it, and then how to
Don't challenge anyone.
hand the keys over to me. All right, so cool, man. Let's not.
Yeah.
The last, there's a couple of last little bits. Really, it's a bit of a summary and a bit of a wrap up. A little bit about. I know you've sort of mentioned a couple of things about the next couple of songs and singles, but this is kind of the opportunity to do a little bit of a pitch on. Again, I know you've said it, but anything new coming out, maybe some future direction of the band, a few gigs or so on. Pretty much, it's your chance to give us your best pitch. So over to you.
Yeah. Well, look, I like I said earlier, I'm a shocker for dates. I've got a lot of stuff up here, but it's all jumbled. But one thing you can look forward to is we've got 2 new singles coming out over the next few weeks. We've got another film clip coming out. We've got an EP coming out. We're playing a couple of live shows. We've got one in Brisbane, one in Nambour, Sunshine Coast local for me. We've got another really, really exciting announcement to make. I cannot say anything about it just yet, but one thing I can say
no exclusive
is
for me.
all of us in the band. Oh, yeah, I could probably do you a cheeky little exclusive, but for everyone out there, stay tuned in the fake news world because we have something so goddamn good coming your way. And every single member of this band is chomping at the bit to get it out there, but we're probably looking at least a month or so, but
that's a long
it's
way
up
away.
in the air as to when, but stay tuned, stay on our socials. You can find a lot of updates on Facebook and Instagram. We're Fake News Punk, so you'll be able to find us.
Yep. This is all the links to all that sort of stuff we'll have in the comments down here when we get this up on YouTube. Alrighty, Tim. Look, I tell you what, that was pretty interesting. It was a good chat. Good having a chat with you. I've interviewed a lot of people I know and stuff, but you are from a long way away from Tweed Heads, so I sort of was a bit curious why we hadn't really crossed paths much over our time, even though we sort of like rolled in similar circles. But the fact that you're up on the sunny coast definitely explains a lot about that. But I'd like to think that we'll cross paths again pretty soon. It was good chatting with you, and it was really insightful. Fake News, sick band name. I was going to talk to you for a while about did you have to like legally prevent anyone else having that name because it's a good name? But I'm sure there's a lot of other bands out there called Fake News that probably just haven't sued you or you haven't sued them. I don't really know, but it's a great name. It's a great name.
That's it. Cheers. No, thanks heaps for having me, Zane. Really appreciate it. It's been awesome. And, like I said, we've got heaps of stuff coming out, so I'll be more than happy to sit here again and talk about some of the new stuff with you. So
yep.
We'll definitely do it again.
All right, cool. Good stuff, dear man. I'll see you around. You.
One last thing.
Oh, yeah, please.
Go Lions.
Everyone out there, I thanks actually. There's one. No, I'm getting the last thing in. I wore my Hawks jersey on purpose, not by coincidence, because I know these boys love the Lions. I know they love Carlton. I know they wear the AFL stuff for pride. And being from being up here in Queensland in the NRL heartland, it's good to show off a little bit of the AFL. So yeah. Lions are they were my second team. Gold Coast are my second team. Lions got bumped down to third, but I was
true.
But I was spewing they bloody lost the fucking 2023 grand final. That was quite heartbreaking, especially to Collingwood of bloody all teams.
It was.
We're definitely finishing on that.
Yeah, well, tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night we got Collingwood again, so hopefully it's a good game.
You might really regret that because this is going to be shown on delay, so they probably got smashed. But but everyone would love to see Collingwood go 0-4 at the start of 24. So let's see what happens. By the time this comes out, we'll already know. All right, cool, man. We're definitely going now. I'll catch you later. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're still listening to this, you're really, really tuned in and you hung in right to the end. So it's super, super appreciated. Just want to use this opportunity to say, please subscribe, please like, all that good stuff. Share it around to your friends. It'll really, really help the channel. I really want to keep doing this. So, yeah, all the support really, really counts. Other little thing too, you know a really, really cool band that you would like to get on this podcast, maybe put their name forward, suggest them. I'd like to hear all recommendations and suggestions, especially if there's someone out there you know that's got some really, really kick-ass lyrics and you think they'd go really good on this podcast. Well, I've said really 200 times, so I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Lyrical Wax Podcast, PurpleZain. See you next time. You.